Hey guys, time for another episode of the Misfit Cycle Focus Roundtables. We have Seth and Drew here at Misfit Athletics HQ talking about Cycle 3, Week 1, Day 3, MFT number 1345. What's the piece today?
Every minute, on the minute for 10 minutes, one Misfit snatch complex, 70% plus of your one rep max, which you will have found during test week. You can build throughout the sets.
You want to remind people what the Misfit Snatch Complex is?
Yes, the Misfit Snatch Complex is a full snatch, an overhead squat, a hang snatch, and an overhead squat. For me, there's two big things to consider when looking at this. Number one is form. Really important for a CrossFitter to be able to replicate the positions that they can get in from the floor when they go to the hang, so that it's highly repeatable. I actually want to know your opinion on low hang, mid-low hang versus burying the bar in your hip and bouncing that up through.
Yeah, the hip snatch, kind of catching it in the hip and then driving back up with it. It's not going to get you stronger, for one, and two, it's not going to reinforce the patterns that you need for high rep efficiency in the sport. Very rarely can you get away with that high hang, hip snatch, whatever the hell it is. It's not even a real movement. They kind of invented it. And if you do get away with it, it's typically not at 70% of your one rep max snatch. So that's something, if you had like 95 to 135 in a competition, you want to cycle a barbell, there certainly is merit for using something like that in those circumstances. But this is weightlifting. It's strength work. It needs to be consistent in order for you to get stronger, more skilled, and faster. We're trying to get better. Yeah. And if you want to focus on something, it should be the way you're moving the bar, like you said, and how fast you can pull under it. So this is not the time or the place to start playing with hip snatching. It would defeat, I think, the point of the complex.
Right. So when you're at the hip, you've done your snatch, you've done your overhead squat, and you're at the hip, it's not always advantageous to go all the way down. I know for me personally, grip strength is an issue. Yeah. So if I go too far down, the grip is more challenging for me. But for a bigger athlete, we can get a little bit more leverage, get out over the bar. But the big thing is sending those hips back and keeping the shins fairly vertical, as opposed to the people that will, have that, harsh angle at the femur and let the bar get out away from them. So I would say form-wise, that's really important. And then if we already know what's coming, if people have watched the podcast, they know what's coming, you have to have some forward thinking here. Yeah. It's going to get worse.
May not get heavier, but you may need to do a lot more of them.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you set that 10 minutes up, know that further on in the cycle, you're going to need to be intensely focused the entire time. So when you set that 10 minutes up, try to mimic that right off the bat. We said in the podcast, get your music going. Get that bench next to your platform. When you get done the lift, sit down, think about the lift, think about repeating it, think about getting your heart rate down, develop that skill so that as we follow linear progression, you can stay on track.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll just add is back to your topic of the hang, how far down you would go. You should be able to feel the tension building, right? So as you're pushing your hips back, there's a certain amount of tensioning that's happening in the glutes and hamstrings. You're going to feel a certain level that's going to kind of register something in your brain. It's going to want to propel you back the other way. Right. So it's not like you don't have some sort of like marker that's going to give you your brain a red flag that says, okay, now we go, or now we've gone too far, or now I don't have any speed left. Right. Play it by feel. And you can experiment with that, especially earlier on in the first EMOM, how far down you actually have to go and how fast you're able to pull the bar down. The further down you go, the longer the range of motion, technically the more work you're doing. So find that middle ground between what's actually building tension to allow you to produce speed and what is just causing you to do too much work, grip, taxing your grip, so on and so forth. So anything else?
I think that's it.
That's all we got for you guys for this one. Until next time, we'll see you later.